we keep pushing. Continual improvement is one of our core values as a company. So I believe like as we transition in out, like we're at the halfway point of the season, if not further. So I think really focusing on tees and baskets going into 2025 are going to be huge. Right now, we're just working on finalizing the 2025 schedule. The space around the tee is probably the most important that I feel like we should be concentrating on, especially with muddy, rainy conditions. We should have rocks, wood chips, whatever we can do behind the tee pad so that players aren't constantly tracking mud on the pad in that hip pocket. And then turf tees, the hit or miss. So right now, X-Step Pro seem to be the favorite, although we just heard some great feedback about the Norwegian tee pads for the Crocal Open, focusing on standardizing the tees, the sizes and dimensions. So 6x12 is typically our standard. And then just having, the back not be a run up, not be a step, and really having actual rocks and gravel to mitigate that moisture, I think goes a very long way on the pro circuit. We want a basket that in the toughest moments of our game, the pros can feel confident to putt on, not only for themselves, the outcome of events, tournaments in general, but for sponsors and just the way our sport looks in the industry. I think as we continually elevate and there's more mainstream media and media outlets out there, it doesn't look good for our game. I think when players are not, getting putts to fall. Flip it to a couple of years ago, even 10 years ago, when there wasn't as many chains in the basket. And, now we're going from old school baskets to new school. One thing we are going to be doing is developing a program right after USCGC that Monday and Tuesday for pros to come and test. So we're going to do a basket testing and working with Statmando and ourselves to try to drive a bunch of disc into the basket repetitively. So if FPO players, MPO players in the pro circuit can give us their feedback, that's what we're looking for. On top of that, we're going to, rewind and go back to events and look at statistics because we know every event, like every basket that's been on every event. So hopefully, I think once we get through all of that, we'll be able to kind of look ahead to 2025 and 2026 to see where our standards should be. We're still working this out as well. So if something doesn't get to the next round, I think we still need to, these manufacturers are the heart of the game. They allow us, they sponsor the tour and they help us. So I think we need to give them that moment to kind of change and upgrade as well. So, chain stars were a thing of the past, and Discraft over the last couple of years really took pride in their basket and took the time to actually elevate it to the Discraft Pro. So that basket catches well. I think it's a good target on tour. I think pros feel confident putting in that. I think we're going to see it at Eureka. We're going to see Innova 28s here at Sunset. So yeah, we'll be able to kind of see it, how it pans out this week. But yeah, it's just unfortunate. Little spit outs down the stretch here and there could cost a lot these days. Whether that be like a major championship or a podium finish, it's definitely something that we need to elevate continuously. I'd say they catch pretty well now, but just consistency. So it's like, why are they, spitting out here and there, like cutting through the chains? But yeah, I think it's from where our baskets were. I really would love like the older pros to chime in on this, because they were putting on some baskets, the Mach 2s and Mach 3s, and what were they doing? They were still putting up the same numbers. And sure, do we have the pros change their putt every weekend? Some pros do, and they just accept that. I think a biggest thing in going into each weekend too is like the mental battle. So it's like, if you do not like or prefer this basket, you just need to adjust, because at the current moment we're working with what we have, and you need to keep going. I think this is the 4th year in a row that this is the largest disc golf event in history.
The first dream was trying to have this tournament promote my insurance agency, and then it grew to selling discs out of a box on Facebook, and then it just kept growing. And then 2019 Pro Worlds opened my eyes to the spectator experience. We charge people $10, one of the first events to charge spectators, and it's grown now into this passion and this obsession to just continue to get better. Back in 2012, 2013, if you did $10,000 of added cash, that was a big amount to the purse. And we did that in 2012, and that was, Will Schustrick came, Nico came. But in 2015, we did $65,000, and no other elite event was even $15,000. And so we did $65,000. Obviously, that first year we had some mistakes with the course design at Eureka, but and that was my fault. But I think I raised so much money and I put it all back into the purse to try to get people to come. And then after that, we've been slowly improving every year. That first year after 2015, I had to make a lot of improvements, and then 2017. But the last few years, we've done player surveys. We just do incremental fixes to the courses and to the experience to listen to their feedback and make things better. The one hole that I'm still most proud of is still hole 1, I think, and that is unchanged from the original design. It's such a tough tee shot if it's windy. If it's not windy, it's not too bad, but I've thrown so many discs in that lake, kind of looking at the angles there. But hole 1 for me is still iconic. But then I love 13 and 14. I think those 2 holes are a lot of fun to watch and play. But I think hole 1 for me, it stood the test of time. Still hard. If the wind picks up, you're going to see some discs in the water. When I designed 13 at Eureka, I remember just standing there on that path and saying, well, I want to put a basket over there. And I pointed to the guy I was with at the time, and they kind of looked at me, and you just have to have imagination. So I think imagining what it could be and what the players can do, and then figuring out a way. People don't remember a bunch of average holes. They remember the really amazing holes. And so I try on every course I've been involved with to make sure there's enough memorable holes, because you're always going to have a few filler holes. The big thing with Sunset is I think it's the only course on the Elite Series that is specifically for the FPO players. And I think a lot of times course designers, they have the MPO design and then they throw a basket 80 feet short for FPO. I don't think a lot of thought always goes into the FPO layout. I'm not bashing other courses. I just think that's the reality, is that we design courses for MPO and then we throw stuff in there for FPO. And so Sunset is exclusively designed with FPO. From day one, it was designed for FPO players. And that's why I think they like coming here, because there's no tweener holes. But if I put them at Eureka, if the wind picked up, I couldn't make holes. I've thought about it many times. How could I get FPO there? I can't. Even with different tees, it's never going to feel like the pins are just going to be 80 feet shorter. And that's not what it should be. Here at Sunset, it's designed for them. Some of the changes are minor. 12, we have a new tee pad that's built up kind of off the path. Small changes on the front 9. Hole 7 has a change for a new tee pad pushed further back. Sunset got really damaged about a month ago with some big storms that delayed some of our cleanup on the property and delayed some of the work, but those are the 2 major changes.
Beth at 69.
I just told myself, you got to will this one in there. Whatever you have, just will it in there.
This man is unbelievable. This is what athletes live for. This is the moment.
I just got into town this morning. I mean, I think there's an excitement to, practicing new courses, but there's always a nice sense of relaxation when you come back to a course that you can visualize the shots before you even, get to the course, which is kind of what I did on the way here. I was like, okay, what am I going to throw on every hole? And it pretty much turned out to be exactly the plan. So yeah, not a lot of time to prep, but thankfully I feel pretty good on this course, and it's not enough changes to be too worried about. I just got off the course and feeling good.
This year is kind of different though, because it's not just only we played this one 4 round, but also we have some 3 hole. It's kind of longer, and then some of them it's hard for me to reach on. I can keep myself probably top 8 this weekend. I just want to keep myself in the middle of the pack, so I think top 8 probably will be okay for me this weekend, because the course, some of them, like I said, I could not reach yet.
I've struggled a little bit during practice, just kind of reaching the pins on some of the holes. I think I need just a little bit more distance, so I'm going to have to definitely be betting on my C2 putts this week. I have high hopes, just get pars where I don't see a birdie and get birdies where I can, mainly on the par 4s and par 5.
It's kind of one of those courses where you feel like if you're not getting the birdie on a hole, you might be losing strokes to a lot of the fields. A little bit of that element, but I think when the wind picks up out here, I think we're going to be probably dealing with some interesting conditions potentially. So that's what makes this course harder. And then, just battling that sort of mental thing of having to birdie every hole, but also, making sure you still play smart and, deal with whatever conditions are thrown at you out here. I am pretty tired, but thankfully I've been waking up earlier than usual, so it hasn't been hard to wake up. I've just been waking up at 3 or 4 a.m., which isn't great, but also for our early tee times, it works out just fine. At least it's not the opposite way. I'll catch up, but if anything, I feel pretty good in the morning.
I'm definitely having more trouble coming back than I was going over there. Over there, I adjusted in like a couple days. Obviously, it's only been a couple days since I got back. I usually stay up till like midnight in the States, and then I wake up at 9, so I get my full 9 hours of sleep. But now, 9 o'clock in the morning is like 6 in the afternoon or whatever the calculation is, because we're 8 hours ahead when we were over there. And so my body, I want to go to bed at the same time I want to, but then I just wake up at like 6 in the morning, which is not normal for me. And then I know I have the latest tea time tomorrow, and so I'm going to try to go to bed a little early tonight just to make sure I get my hours of sleep, and then we can adjust later. I feel like it's a course that should suit my game really well. I've definitely put down some pretty hot rounds there. 2022, I was leading Ledgestone by a couple strokes after round 1 at Eureka. And so I can play really good out here. But I've also had trouble at this course, and not having much sleep. That's my least favorite thing to do in disc golf, is playing with no sleep, because you can't focus. You just kind of spray everywhere and you have no idea where the disc is going to go. And when you have so much OB and water, I mean, I stepped out, I brought like 2 water discs. For my first shot in the States, I dunked in the water. And so I'm already down my water disc. The course it's a good mix. I think I throw a lot of backhands and forehands out there.
Can't lie, I love playing that course. I think that's probably why I've had a lot of success on it in the past. Throwing shots around water, I just really enjoy. I feel like there should be more water incorporated on tour if possible. I really like the water because it really punishes if you go OB. You lose one of your favorite discs if you're trying to throw the correct shot. So I just like playing around the water, and it makes you really commit to the shot. And then I just think those holes are pretty well designed. I'm throwing anywhere from a putter to a distance driver on that course, and I like feeling like I'm out there throwing my whole bag. It's not just a hyzer fest, and it's not just like a hyzer forehand fest. Like, you're throwing straight shots, you're throwing turnover shots, you're throwing rollers on 2 of the holes out there. So I just think the versatility works really well with my game, and playing those lines just makes me happy.
I think the part I like most about the course is you actually have to think quite a bit. There's a lot of different ways to attack holes. And, you kind of got to pick and choose the ways you want to attack those holes. People throw OB a lot here. And so if you can just keep it in bounds, it's pretty easy. One thing I do note is a lot of the drop zones are very difficult. And so if you throw out of bounds in the first shot, like the drive or something, the drop zone is not easy. It's a bogey at best. And I've seen huge numbers on some of the drop zones out here. It just adds a little more pressure, a little more stress to your round when you come up to a hole. To know the drop zone's tough. I mean, just like the water tower hole, even that drop zone, I think is a couple hundred feet, but it's blind, super skinny landing zone. I almost think it's easier from the tee pad. So I hope to never even end up there. Your game feels pretty good. You can definitely dial in and get pretty on, and the course feels pretty easy. You can string together a lot of birdies, but I know a couple of the new additions with the new pins is going to be a little bit tougher. I know 17 is going to be really, really hard. I haven't really played the course much yet. I played like a couple holes in the dark last night, because I just got here. I'm going to go head over there and play the last kind of 8 holes of the course and see how they fare.
The game feels really good. I feel like I got a solid game plan, and I'm switching up some things a little bit, but I don't think they're going to make too big of a difference. Really, the battle this week is going to be in the head, and it's also going to be the hip flexor as well, which it feels pretty good. Something I realized was I was just not incorporating my glutes enough in doing certain activities. So when you're not incorporating your glutes, you're going to be more on your toes, which puts strain on those hip flexors. Playing a lot of tennis and pickleball, like outside of disc golf, I think I strained my left hip flexor, and it was kind of bugging me through all of Preserve and Des Moines, and really annoying. And I thought it was just an overused thing, so maybe some rest would, over a couple days, would have it feeling much better. But I got home and it just never seemed to settle down. I played two tournaments with an injured hip flexor, just kind of limping through it. It wasn't very fun, but I just wanted to play disc golf. I played the tournaments, but yeah, I think I ended up kind of straining something in there, and it turned out to be a big serious issue. So I was working with my chiropractor back home, and he was doing a lot of treatment on it, doing a lot of scraping work and red light therapy, and doing all that kind of stuff to zoom up the healing process. And so it was very relaxing, almost too relaxing, because I was laying in bed playing video games for most of the week.
Today, I want to practice 1 round, but just throw one disc per hole. And after yesterday, I practiced. I come home, I feel hurt my arm, and I putting probably 100 putt, and I feel like, man, I could not do it anymore. Definitely, like my practice this year dropped, like pretty much like 50% drop, because I could not afford to hurt myself too much, and I cannot wait for the end of this year. I want to take 2 months off again, or even more. I feel like right now my arm is more important. If I feel like it start getting hurt, I need to stop myself. I guess I just love to play tournaments so much. And first of all, I don't want to play because I leave my bag inside my van. And then when I go there, I was like, man, I don't have my disc. But I want to play so much. And then I'm kind of like go look around at my glass. Yeah, and then I pick my own disc. And then I won. I won weekly, so I beat all the guy with my 18 down. And I was like, man, maybe I can do it. Even I just knew this, So I decided to play. Of course, I end up with second place so the first play got me by 1 stroke. I'm pretty proud of myself to just play with the new disc.